Hello, I'm David Meitzler with Residential Hospice. I wanted to share with you some reading today. I've been reading a book called The Needs of the Dying, and this is a book written by David Kessler, Kessler. This is the 10th anniversary edition. I wanted to share with you a small section under the chapter Expressing Emotions. This section is called Making Relationships Current. At every stage of life, we find peace and fulfillment in our relationships that are current. A current relationship is one in which both have said everything they need to say to each other, whether it is supportive or challenging. Our relationships are current when we no longer harbor unexpressed feelings. When there is a blockage in the relationship, however, when things have been left unsaid, we are bound to be uncomfortable and unhappy. That blockage and discomfort are most pronounced when things have been held back for years and someone is gravely ill. Ironically, most of us are less likely to make a relationship current when a person is ailing for fear of doing harm. But if those unspoken thoughts are not expressed, they may never be. The urgency of illness is a golden opportunity to push through ancient blockages and talk openly and honestly. Stan, a 67-year-old accountant, was struggling through painful and terminal prostate cancer. He was a charming storyteller with an elfish grin and a twinkle in his eye that no amount of pain could erase. We often sat together in the living room turned bedroom of his house, talking about this and that. As I got to know Stan and his wife, Joan, I could tell that she was struggling to suppress a huge undercurrent of anger. I finally felt bold enough to say to Joan, "I sense you have a lot of anger." She admitted that she had never talked through some old but important issues with her husband, adding, "I can't discuss them with him now. He's so frail, he's so weak, he's lost so much weight. For me to go in there now and try to get even with him for the feelings and the things I'm upset about would be wrong." I told Joan that there is a difference between getting it out and getting even. You can express negative feelings without hurting someone. When Joan realized that she had a right to express her feelings and that Stan had a right to hear them, she spoke with him. In a very loving way, she told him why she had been suppressing anger for so many years. Not only did their discussion allow her to get it out, it also led to many other tender and loving talks. Sitting by his bedside, she gently shared how she had felt judged by him during their many years of marriage. She felt that he didn't appreciate her and that he was disappointed because she didn't have a career. He replied that it didn't matter to him whether or not she had a career, for he had always earned enough money. Then he pointed out the many successful ways she had used her talents. "You raised a family," he said. "You decorated our home. You decorated a design home for charity. You painted walls full of art for the children's hospital. Just because you weren't paid doesn't mean that you are not enormously talented and that I don't appreciate you." The more they communicated, the more her anger dissipated. With the anger gone and the relationship current, there was more room than ever for love. If a relationship is not current, we need to go back and say what we believe needs to be said. I saw how important this was while caring for Rose, a 77-year-old woman suffering from leukemia. Shriveled and shrunken down to only 82 pounds, Rose lay in a hospital bed we had brought to her home. She had suffered through 2 rounds of chemotherapy and other treatments, but was not doing well. Frank, her only child, was at her bedside that evening. He was startled when Rose, who had been too weak to talk or even move her head for days, suddenly lifted her head off the pillow and whispered urgently, "Frank! Frank!" "Yes," he answered, worried that she had been hit by a sudden pain. "I never told you I loved you." "But, Mom, I know you love me," he replied, puzzled. "But I never told you," she said. With that, she put her head back down on the pillow and closed her eyes. She didn't speak or move again, and she died the next day. Frank was perplexed. He didn't understand why it was so important for Rose to tell him that she loved him, when it was so obvious to him. Rose needed to tell her son that she loved him. It was unfinished business she needed to complete in order to make their relationship current. Unfinished business consists of all those things we feel we haven't had a chance to say in our relationships. When serious illness arises, many people develop a need to finish the business of their relationships by communicating and sharing as openly as they can. When they don't, their survivors often spend the rest of their lives regretting that the business was left unfinished. If you ask someone what needs to be said in order to make a relationship current, they usually don't have to think about it. They usually know what's been missing. They know that they're sorry for this or that they haven't said thank you for being a caring parent or spouse or child or friend. They've never said, "I'm proud of you," or "You hurt me," or "We had difficult times, but I'm glad you are my friend." Now is the time to say it. Making a relationship current can lead to life-changing breakthroughs. Other times, we just need to say something. What we say is not as important as giving ourselves permission to say it. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross tells a story of a wife who reminisces about her husband. The wife remembers the time she dropped a blueberry pie on the carpet of his beloved car. She thought he would kill her, but he didn't. The wife remembers the time she dragged him to a dance he didn't want to go to and forgot to tell him to dress formally. She thought he would be furious, but he wasn't. She remembers the time she danced with his friend in order to make him jealous. She thought he would leave her, but he didn't. She wanted to tell him all these things when he returned from Vietnam, but he didn't return. Because she was unable to give herself permission to acknowledge these moments, she felt that their business was never finished. Sometimes, however, nothing needs to be said. If the relationship is current, just being there is enough. That is from the chapter Expressing Emotions and from the book The Needs of the Dying, 10th Anniversary Edition by David Kessler.